ਕੈਲਗਰੀ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇੰਟਰਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਵੀਜ਼ਾ, ਵਿਜ਼ਟਰ ਵੀਜ਼ਾ ਅਤੇ ਵਰਕ ਪਰਮਿਟ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਆਏ 15 ਵਿਅਕਤੀਆਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਤਸਵੀਰਾਂ ਜਾਰੀ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤੀਆਂ ਗਈਆਂ ਨੇ। ਇਹ 15 ਦੇ 15 ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਫਰੋਤੀ ਦੇ ਮਾਮਲਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਸੰਬੰਧਿਤ ਹਨ। ਰਵਜੋਤ ਤੂਰ, ਜਰਮਨਜੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ, ਜਸਕਰਨ ਸਿੰਘ, ਕਰਨਵੀਰ ਸਿੰਘ, ਅਮਨਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ, ਅਨੁਰਾਗ ਸਿੱਧੂ, ਇਸ਼ਾਨਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ, ਅਮਨਦੀਪ ਮੱਲੀ, ਸੰਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ, ਦਕਸ਼ ਗੌਤਮ, ਆਕਾਸ਼ਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ, ਗਗਨਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ, ਪ੍ਰਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ, ਤਰਨਵੀਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਅਤੇ ਗੁਰਕਰਨ ਧਾਲੀਵਾਲ। ਇਹ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਕੈਲਗਰੀ ਦੀਆਂ ਵੱਖ-ਵੱਖ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਹੋਰ ਹਿੱਸੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ। ਪੁਲਿਸ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਇੱਕ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਨਾਮ ਵਰਤਦੇ ਨੇ। ਕਈ ਲੀਗਲ ਡਾਕੂਮੈਂਟਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਵੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਮ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਪਾਏ ਗਏ। ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜੇਕਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਹੋ, ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਂ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੰਪਰਕ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਅਤੇ ਹੋਰ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਦੇ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਜੋ ਇਨਵੈਸਟੀਗੇਸ਼ਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਮਦਦ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ। ਕੈਲਗਰੀ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਹੁਣ ਤੱਕ ਕੈਲਗਰੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਸਹਿਯੋਗ ਮਿਲਣ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਹੀ ਚਾਰਜ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਗਏ ਨੇ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਮਾਮਲੇ ਦਰਜ ਨੇ ਅਤੇ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਕਾਰਵਾਈ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। CBSA ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਰਲ ਕੇ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਡਿਪੋਰਟ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਤਿਆਰੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਪੁਰਾਣੀ ਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨਲ ਹਿਸਟਰੀ ਦਾ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਹ ਕੈਨੇਡੀਅਨ ਸਿਟੀਜ਼ਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਹਨ ਅਤੇ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਆਪਰੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਦੇ ਦੌਰਾਨ ਐਕਸਟੋਰਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਮਾਮਲਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਨੱਥ ਪਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਲੱਗੀ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ। ਪੁਲਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਦੀ ਆਸ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਤਸਵੀਰਾਂ ਪੋਸਟ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਇਨਵੈਸਟੀਗੇਸ਼ਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਸਹਿਯੋਗ ਮਿਲੇਗਾ ਅਤੇ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਵੇਅਰਨੈਸ ਹੋਵੇਗੀ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਹ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ, ਕਿਸੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ ਅਤੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੇ ਮਿੱਤਰ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ। ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜੇਕਰ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਵਿਅਕਤੀਆਂ ਬਾਰੇ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਹੈ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਤਸਵੀਰ ਤੋਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹੋ ਅਤੇ ਇਹ ਕਿਸੇ ਹੋਰ ਨਾਮ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੰਬੰਧਿਤ ਹਨ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਸੰਪਰਕ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ।
Since April 2025, Calgary has seen 49 extortion-related incidents targeting members of the South Asian community. These incidents have included 19 shootings targeting both victims and suspects. In response, earlier this year, we launched Operation Orion and Operation Outage, two focused, ongoing efforts that combine investigative work with intelligence-led suppression. These operations have led to meaningful progress, including arrests, charges, and reduction in the frequency of extortion attempts. However, this work is far from over, and these investigations remain active. To date, 16 individuals have been charged with 56 offences. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the community. The progress we have made so far would not have been possible without the support, trust, and cooperation of the community members. People have come forward, shared information, and supported one another through what has been a very concerning series of events. We are grateful for the partnership. We have also heard clearly from the community, with many asking what more they can do to help. Today, we are releasing the photos of selected accused to generate additional tips and advance these investigations. These incidents are often coordinated and involve networks of individuals. What we need now is more information about these people, who they are associating with, where they are spending their time, whether they are working anywhere, or any other details that may seem small but could be very significant. It is very important to understand that some of these individuals may be known by different names or may have been encountered in different contexts. Even small pieces of information can help us identify others involved, strengthen investigations, prevent further violence, and ultimately hold those responsible accountable. Let me be very clear. We will not stop until everyone involved in these series of crimes is identified and held accountable. If you have information, we are asking you to come forward and contact police directly or provide tips anonymously through Crime Stoppers. And if you are a victim of extortion, do not pay. Contact police immediately. This continues to be a community-driven effort. Together, we have made important progress, and with continued support, we will keep moving forward. Awesome. I'm open to any questions.
So where are these people right now? Are they in jail or being deported or already deported or they are on bail?
So a mix of answers here. All but one person that has been charged are currently in the community, and so only one person remains in custody. We do work with our partners at CBSA. I can't speak on what stages, if any, of deportation, if that's available, but from a criminal code standpoint and from the bail side of things, all but one are currently in the community.
Can you share the name of one person who's in the custody?
I don't have that available, I'm sorry.
I'm quite struck by the level of violence. Did you say 19 shootings?
Correct, yeah. So 18 have been directly linked with extortions. One, the people involved in the extortions were shooting at each other.
Can you comment on that? Like, I can't really remember a case where there was 19 shootings. It sounds extreme to me. Is that true?
Well, when we look at organized crime and the violence and over time and duration, I think that helps put a little bit of context on it. This didn't happen overnight, and this is since the 2025 component, right? And so when we look at it from the longevity, there's a difference because it just doesn't happen at one time.
Right. And secondary to that, citizens reporting this, how have they felt, and what have you done to relieve any kind of security issues people might have and make them confident enough to come forward to you?
Well, a couple things we've done. Truthfully, we put a lot of resources behind this, and to be very honest, we put our money where our mouth was. And so at the beginning of this year, in the first 60 days of this year, there was 9 shootings, a disproportionate amount of shootings. In the subsequent 100 and some days, there's been less than 2 shootings. So that tells us right there that we've driven down the amount of violence that's happening. And that's a direct result of the investigative work of the teams, the laying of the charges, and the suppression efforts that are happening. That in itself has reassured the community. And what I mean by that is we are seeing people now contact us. We're seeing people that had not contacted us before with an extortion contact us now because they have confidence in what we've done. And so that in itself, the data component of that is showing us that we're having an effect.
Which brings me to my next question, although I've taken 3 on since everyone can shut up. You mentioned the word data, type of data. What was the term you used? You were using data to do these arrests.
Intelligence-led suppression.
Intelligence-led suppression. Can you tell me more about that, please, and how that works?
Yeah, obviously, through investigations, we acquire a whole bunch of leads and information, and so that helps basically give us a starting point or a foundation to the investigation, and that information pushes us in the direction of where to investigate.
How organized are they? I've heard of Bishnoi and these other organized groups. Do you believe this is just a localized Calgary group, or does this extend nationally and maybe internationally?
I'm very confident to say that there are linkages nationally on this. I'm closely monitoring what's happening in other parts of the country. I'm watching what's happening, obviously, in Vancouver with our recent trial, where there is a linkage with allegation of connection to the Lawrence Bishnoi gang. And so we are alive to that. If we come across any evidence to suggest that, we'll be working with our national security partners, as they are considered a terrorist organization.
Now, you've done this last 3 months, and you've really had some real movement in the last 6 months. What's been the reaction of the Asian community to your work? Have you heard back?
We have. We've also engaged in town halls and that, and we have very good support from the community. They're appreciative. We've come quite a ways, but it doesn't mean that we can let our foot off the gas. We have a long way to go to continue building their trust and ensuring that we continue making Calgary the safest city in Canada.
Thank you.
When you consider a victim of extortion, somebody who's experienced that, it's probably absolutely terrifying for them, and even more terrifying to come forward with that information, but then to hear that all but one of these individuals who have been charged are out in the community, that's very concerning, right? So what sort of measures are being taken to ensure that people are safe?
It is concerning, and obviously we recognize on a larger front this is a national component of the bail compliance and what's happening nationally. We saw an opportunity here. We have a great offender management program, and so often when they are released there is a condition or conditions around that, and so we're intentional about ensuring that they're compliant with the conditions, and we take the offender management component very seriously and follow through with that.
Can you maybe give me an example of some condition?
I can't because that's private.
Can you confirm if all these people who are charged are
foreign nationals or some of them are Canadian citizens. Is there any information on that?
Every person that we have charged in Operation Orion is not a Canadian citizen.
Are there other common factors with these people? Now you have a broad enough sort of exposure, it's not two people, it's more, you've investigated. Are there other common factors with them other than the fact that they weren't originally Canadian citizens?
We are seeing some common themes, yes. One of the themes we're seeing, visiting student visa, work visas. It was interesting, one of the visiting student visas was for an online program. And so we are seeing patterns and trends, but again, we focus more so on the criminal activity.
So do you think these individuals are coming to Canada on a visa with the intention of committing these crimes?
Obviously, I can't speculate on what they come to Canada for. Unfortunately, somewhere along the line, they do get caught up in this world. And so we're trying to make sure that we're taking a proactive approach with people coming to Canada to say, hey, you could be propositioned for this, understand that it's against the law. And so we're not only are we looking at it from an investigative standpoint, a suppression standpoint, but we're working with Crime Stoppers, for example, to make sure that we have ads out at places we feel could be susceptible to this targeting. And we want to make sure people are aware that it won't be accepted in Canada. What's interesting, as for the release of these photos, when you think about it, what we see is they're hiding in plain sight, is what it comes down to. We see that they have a name that they're known by in the community. They have nicknames. They have legal documents from different countries and Canada that are also all different names. So they could conceivably have multiple names that they're never known from. In fact, in the investigation, to give you some anecdotal information, at one point, a roommate didn't even know the legal name or the person we were talking about until we showed a photo. That's the reason we're giving this information and releasing certain photos for this. We don't want people hiding in plain sight. We want to ensure that we are investigating and providing a level of public safety that the public expects from us. Consider this. In a lot of situations, and this without giving specifics of investigations, we're seeing trends in the sense of a good Samaritan will lend out their vehicle to who they think they know by a certain name. That vehicle is then used in an extortion. They don't even know because they don't know the person has been charged. They know them as a different name. And so as a result of it, they're becoming victimized. Their vehicle is used in the commission of an offense, and they don't know because they're just trying to be kind. And so we're asking people to really make sure that they know their friends. Business owners, for example, you might have an employee who you know as a certain name, and we know them as someone different. We've released the name, but you haven't associated that. That's why we are releasing the photo, because they might be using your reputation, your thriving business as ways to identify people to be extorted. And so there's intention behind doing this. It's around public safety as well as the investigation. And on an individual level, we are assessing every single photo and making a conscious decision on whether to release that or not.
And what is your message to the community? For example, if some of these people are back in the community and they have been charged with extortion or shootings, what would you say to the community if this is safe for the community to have these people around?
So again, we're looking for information. The purpose of this is to ensure that we continue down the lines of investigation. And so we're not asking the public to do anything or the community to do anything. This is a policing matter. We deal with the law. We deal with all the components of that. We want your information, but you don't know who the people are without their photo, because we've shown that their names can be changed and altered. So please contact police with any information that you have so that we can investigatively follow that up and work towards more charges and suppressing this even further.
The fact that so many of these people that are involved in shootings have been released back to the community, is it safe to assume they don't have a long history of criminality before this? Is this, like, you don't have a rap sheet already on these people? This is the first time any of them you've interacted with?
That's a layered question. So I go back to the consideration that a lot of these are not Canadian citizens. And so we only have part of their history, and that's the time for when they're in Canada. And so I can't speak to historically if they've been involved in crime groups or anything along those lines. And so the legal system has to work within what the structure is that they have. What we have is information to say that they're involved. We've provided the evidence, we've laid the charge, and that's out of our hands.
What kind of firearms are they using? Like, are they printing their own? Where are they going to?
Again, there's some investigative components to that, so I'm not going to answer.
Yeah.
Are you noticing in your connections with other agencies across the country, are you noticing the same trends that the people involved here are mostly here with student visas?
Again, it's not just student visas, but we are seeing trends across the country. There's a national extortion joint task force that we participate in. That's at a high level where we've got some structure from a national component. There are investigative components where the investigators are communicating both provincially and federally. And so we do see those trends. Again, it's not specific for us to look into. That's more anecdotal information in the investigative process. Canadian Border Services Agency obviously is made aware. We have them embedded in our teams, and we provide that information to them, and they can follow that up.